What's going on, guys? Welcome to the only football channel where today we get to do our division predictions. Let's go! I'm so fired up. Everybody knows how much this week means to me because um I mean everybody wants to be right, but I mean as far as doing this for an entire year now, um I guess one of the ways that you would be able to track your progress in predicting, how well a team does is by revisiting your division predictions at the end of the year. And in my case, last year was a pretty good year. Quick recap. We got, obviously like Bengals and Bills and Chiefs. We got all that right. We predicted the Jaguars would have a better year. They did. We predicted that the Eagles would also have a crazy good season, which they did. So it's kind of one of those things where it's like, oh man, can we get that? Can we get all that right again? Well, kind of. Some of it is going to stay the same. Other things are going to move. I do want to give you three football teams as an example. Look at this awesome journal I have. It's made out of real leather. The paper inside, it's like real soft paper. I mean, it's a really nice journal. We got Bill in the chat. Sorry to hear about Jerry. Judy should be just a few weeks from what I'm hearing, though. Yeah, we will talk about that a little bit. But you know what? It's division night, and if we're gonna do division night, I'm gonna crack a beer. I guess you could say I want a Brock. Hard and Purdy all day. Yeah. You got the New Amsterdam gin on tap. Love New Amsterdam. I used to drink a drink called the Bee's Knees, and I would make it at home. It was like 1/3 part honey, 1/3 part gin, 1/3 part. I think it was a honey simple syrup mixture, and one more thing I can't remember what it was, but good times, love it. Everyone's got their drink on hand. Let's do it. Let's dive into the NFL division predictions. Now, obviously, last year when I did this, I had Rick with me. We were sitting across the table. He was wrong a lot. I was right. But it doesn't matter because somehow, I guess a little butterfly told Rick that I was going to do the division predictions today no matter what. And something came in my mail. It says it's from Rick. It says, "Fuck you, asshole." It's a little aggressive. Rick. Let's see what we got here. Oh, we got a printout of a Facebook Messenger. What is this? Oh, no way. Rick's division predictions, hot off the press. Got them right here. We're going to keep a look on those. We're going to do, I don't really know the format yet. I haven't decided, but we will reveal all of Rick's predictions and all of mine. So, like I said, I wanted to focus on three teams before we do this because every single off season, everybody's feeling good. I challenge you to think of any football team and Google or YouTube. If you're like me, I YouTube everything. YouTube will the blank fill in the blank besides the Texans and who else? Maybe the Raiders, even though the Raiders have a lot of optimism with this quarterback right now. His numbers are crazy. We'll get to that. But you will see that everybody has a 10 to 20-minute video and they're making a very strong case on their football team. And it's very simple. All of the things that were wrong last season are addressed in the off season. We can't know if those things were fixed or not, with the exception of, I don't know, adding DeAndre Hopkins. We know he's a good receiver. But for a lot of these plug and play free agency moves, we know that on paper, the situation has been addressed. But how that unfolds onto the field, we have to wait and watch football and be like, did they address their offensive line? Yeah, they got new bodies. Those new bodies are more capable. But sometimes they just don't pan out. So it's very hard predicting. And if you notice, even the experts have usually the lowest win total will be around like 4 wins. But every season, we know that there will be a team that wins 1, maybe 2 games, right? So to a certain extent, we know right off the bat, the NFL is already, giving teams maybe more win totals than they should have. I would make the argument it has nothing to do with that. It has everything to do with it is hard to predict any football team in the National Football League only winning 4 games. It's a very hard thing to predict because a lot of these teams are really freaking good. They're just simply that good. So the 3 teams that I wanted to give you for an example before we dive in, I wanted to talk about the Pittsburgh Steelers. I wanted to talk about the Atlanta Falcons. I wanted to talk about the Commanders. And we'll leave it at that. Okay. Why do I want to talk about those 3 teams? Because those are the perfect 3 teams to really drive home a point that I want to make. Bill in the chat said Cardinals. They're definitely in fire sale mode, but their new GM seems like the real deal. And that is another thing is like complete rebuilds take time. And we're going to talk about that on a similar team, but different. So the first team I want to look at, the Pittsburgh Steelers. This is a team that Rick actually picked to win the North, which is something I don't say to like hang it over his head. Yeah, I do. But I really do want to focus for a second about the Steelers and the very real possibility of them being a good football team this season. So here are my notes. I'm just going to go and rattle through here, okay? Okay, they had a great draft. They had a great offseason. They finished 6-2 in their final 8 games. They signed 4 captains from previous teams. They averaged, and this is why you can't really look at stats when you're trying to figure out was Kenny Pickett a good or a bad passer last year? Because the Steelers, like I said, they started very poorly, but they only average 18 points per game by the end of the season. So a good last 8 weeks and then a really crappy beginning of the season. But you are seeing that progression that you want to see from a young quarterback, somebody that's getting better. We saw that. We'll get more into that in a little bit. Rushing attack was not great as far as a weakness. They completely changed the offensive line. So the 29-year Isaac Salmon, he came from the Eagles. I looked into that. That is like the Eagles had the best offensive line in the league last year. If you can get a piece of that offensive line, especially somebody under 30 years old, to me, that is a very, very good addition right there on the line. So I do expect their offensive line to be better. They also added Broderick Jones. We're hearing good things from him out of camp. Nate Herbig. Kenny Pickett was only played in 13 games last season. He had a 63% completion percentage. He averaged 185 passer yards per game. He had 17 interceptions, only 9 touchdowns. Pickett had early turnover issues, and that is part of those mistakes that we're talking about in the younger, less experienced Kenny Pickett. During that stretch of 8 games where the Steelers went 6-2, he had 5 touchdowns and only 1 interception. Now, keep in mind, we talked about last night James Warren because they were saying James Warren's doing so good. Like, could he have such a good game in the preseason that he somehow takes Najee Harris's role? The answer is no, but it's also a very good thing to have 2 good running backs. So the Steelers are going to have a better running game because their offensive line is going to be more improved. Okay. So this is going to be a Kenny Pickett that has a running game, has more time. They added Allen Robinson, who, yeah, he didn't do that great in LA with the Rams. But look, here's the thing. Allen Robinson doesn't need to be that great. He just needs to be on the field. Deontay Johnson is a very, very capable number 1 or number 2 receiver. And George Pickens could have been the rookie of the year last season. He could have had the best wide receiver out. There was another team that was in this situation. Who, you know what? Well, Drake London. Drake London was another guy that young receiver, was limited by his quarterback in a different environment. These guys were picked cream of the crop for their position group in the draft. So George Pickens is going to be great. Last year, with all of the ups and downs of Kenny Pickett's, career or first year as a rookie, he had 52 catches, 801 yards. And here's the craziest part. George Pickens averaged over 15 yards per reception. Okay. So, I mean, as far as Pittsburgh and what you want to see in an off season, the Pittsburgh Steelers did that. They got the offensive line going. They got now dual threat in the tight end. They have a rushing attack. They have wide receiver weapons. They have an elite defense. So when you're looking at the Steelers on paper, they're in arguably the hardest division in the NFL with the Bengals and the Ravens and the Steelers and the Browns. This is not an easy division, but you can't ignore the facts of the Steelers have improved. Well, they were 9-8 last season. So what are they supposed to be, 10-7? Is that what improving looks like? Getting one more win at least? Normally it does. But then you're thinking, well, if the Steelers win 10 games, how many do the Bengals win? And then what does that mean? The Ravens are in third? It's very hard to judge a team like the Steelers. Let me move on to the Atlanta Falcons. If you were to just judge skill positions, which means like wide receiver, running back, wide receiver, tight end, running back, right? Atlanta Falcons have been top 10 according to ESPN. Kyle Pitts, remember, tight ends do not get picked number 4 overall, where I believe he was picked. Bijan Robinson is a luxury. They did not need Bijan Robinson. Tyler Algier, he was a 1,000-yard rusher last season. Drake London was one of the best, maybe would have had the best year as a rookie wide receiver last year, but the incompetence of Marcus Mariota and the kind of play that they were getting, the fact is London he understands where he's at in his career. People that are working on the field in Atlanta Falcons training camp, they have all been really clear that Drake London feels underrated. He feels disrespected. He's not mentioned in the same conversations with Garrett Wilson and Chris Olave. Drake London is going to have a year. So this is the group: Drake London, Kyle Pitts, and Bijan Robinson. You got, just in that group, you have amazing wide receivers. You have tight ends that play like wide receiver. You have a running back that plays like a wide receiver. I mean, this team has some real potential. Now, look, November and MCL took Kyle Pitts out for the rest of the season. Like I said, he was the number 4 overall pick at tight end. This dude has the ability to be easily 1,000-yard receiver with maybe close to double-digit touchdowns. So what's a realistic goal for Kyle Pitts? I put 1,200 yards, 8 touchdowns, okay? Their offensive line is ranked 4th right now on PFF. So this is what I love. Now we're getting into the nitty-gritty of why I like the Falcons, okay? This offensive line, they got Jake Matthews at left tackle, and they got Khalib McGarry at right tackle. So they're solid on the outside, okay? Their center, Drew Dahlman, is good. Matthew Burgo is their left guard. Jake Matthews, I mentioned him already. Who am I leaving out? Chris Lindstrom, right guard. So what am I saying? When it comes to this offense, it's all about Riddler. What is Riddler going to be? How is he going to perform? We saw him for one game last season to end the season, right? So, or not, I'm thinking of the Commanders, and we're going to get to them next. That's why I mixed that up. But you're going to see a lot of pistol. I think with Arthur Smith, they're going to run the 3 running back, 2 tight ends, 1 wide receiver, and you're going to have Patterson, right? Because they have Cordell Patterson. Don't forget about him. He's a huge playmaker. They got Bijan Robinson and Tyler Algier. You got 4 very capable running backs, all 1,000-yard rushers on the field at the same time, okay? I'm looking for this team to play into its strong suits, and one thing a team has to have, especially a team like the Falcons that are doing things a little unorthodox when it comes to the new NFL and throwing, it doesn't matter. You have to know who you are, and you have to have an identity. The problem with Denver right now, even though they have Sean Payton, what's their identity? And that's a valid question, and we don't know yet. The Atlanta Falcons know exactly what they are. They know exactly who they are. They're a running football team. They're going to do it exceptionally. It's going to open up a lot of red zone opportunities. This does feel like a team that's going to settle for field goals, maybe more than they would need to win, double-digit wins. But the Atlanta Falcons, you can make a serious argument that this team is being slept on completely. Okay? So the third team I wanted to look at was the Commanders. These are 3 teams that are not predicted to win their division. Okay? The Commanders. By the way, they ended the Ravens' 28 preseason game win streak. And I want to say something for everybody that says it doesn't matter. Oh, it doesn't matter. Look at them celebrating like they just won the Super Bowl. Keep in mind that it does matter. Like, preseason doesn't matter on the records book, but the people that were playing on the field, it mattered, right? If it didn't matter, you wouldn't see fights at the end and stuff like that. The Commanders, and this is why I'm not looking past it, is because hey, let's go in there and let's beat the Ravens and let's break this record, right? I'm sure the other 27 teams, at some point, these teams are, you're a target when you win that many preseason games in a row. The Commanders probably thought to themselves, let's be the team that does it and knock them off that winning streak. And it worked, and they won. And I think that is a great team building exercise. And I think having a moment like that before the season starts can easily be just overlooked as it's preseason. Who cares? Look at them celebrating. I think people are missing the whole point about what was awesome about the Commanders winning that game. And it has to do with team bonding. Dan Snyder's gone. This is probably the biggest addition by subtraction of anybody in the league. Ron Rivera. Okay. He's definitely on, I would say, the hot seat this year. There's a new ownership group coming in. They're going to want to hire their own people. They're going to want to do things their way and draft their quarterback. And in a way, this is another one of those kind of unifying things, is that you have Sam Howell, who's a 6th-round pick. New ownership didn't draft him. He only got to play one game at the end of last season. He's been looking really good so far in the preseason. This is a team with a solid roster. The fans are behind Sam Howell. They put a poll out during the Commanders-Ravens game. Who would you rather have, Patrick Mahomes or Sam Howell? And it was like over 2,000 votes, and it was like 70% Sam Howell. Now, do I think those people really would rather have Sam Howell? No, but what it does show is that the team supports Sam Howell, that they have his back. That's another powerful thing. Okay, so Sam Howell in preseason so far, he's got 188 yards. He's 19 for 25, 2 touchdowns, 122.1 passer rating, 265 yards, 28 out of 37, 0 interceptions, and a 75 completion percentage. This is really good, even for preseason. Eric Bieniemy was over there in Kansas City. Obviously, Andy Reid's calling the plays. That's the same thing that kind of happened to Nathaniel Hackett, was the head coach is calling the plays. So the offensive coordinator is kind of like, well, what do you even do? Surprisingly, Nathaniel Hackett got a head coaching job, but that's because they wanted Aaron Rodgers. Eric Bieniemy, though, knows if he's going to be a head coach, he has to be a play caller and go to a team without a star quarterback. And that's what he did. So here he is now in Washington. And this could be a year where if the Commanders play good or are a playoff team, he could be a head coach next season. He would be a head coaching candidate. Terry McLaurin has a mild toe sprain, by the way, right now, but he should be fine. Terry McLaurin's a top receiver in the league. Jahan Dotson, I made a short about him like 3 months ago as my breakout player of the year. I'm keeping my eye close on Dotson. Curtis Samuel played 17 games last season, didn't get hurt. You got Logan Thomas at tight end. Brian Robinson, he was the running back that was shot, and I don't think he got in until they were playing the Giants on, I think that was Sunday or Thursday Night Football. I think it was Sunday Night Football, like week 15 or something. So Robinson's supposed to be good. So this is a good roster. They drafted Montez Sweat. And they got Jamar Chase, Jonathan Allen, Daron Payne. This unit almost had 40 sacks. So, I mean, they can easily have a top 5 pass rush, the Commanders. And then they added Emmanuel Forbes, who was he was pretty amazing. So when you look, I mean, he's the best. I think it was Emmanuel Forbes and Devin Witherspoon. But this is going to be a good running game, a good football team, a good defense. What can Sam Howell do, though? Howell, but not the Gillen's Island version. Yes, we're never going to let that go. So between those teams, man, I hope I made a point. I got bit by something. I got to keep my doors open. There's no AC in the West Coast. No air conditioning over here. So we have to keep, the doors open for air. And during the summer, it's like, gosh, the bites. What did I drop? Oh. Okay. So we're going to move on to my division predictions. I wanted to make a point about those three teams. What is the point? The point is that even teams that you would generally predict, like, oh, the Commanders are going to, because a lot of this is just recency bias. So we're like the Commanders. When's the last time we've closed our eyes and pictured the Commanders and associated that with success, right? It's been a long time, right? Well, after enough time, you don't really even look at the offseason acquisitions. You're just like, Commanders, I don't know. And it's like, no, man, they got a good team. They got some people. And it's like, but I don't know, man. So really trying to remove that and look at everybody fairly, just from a roster point of view, you could take teams like Atlanta and the Commanders and Pittsburgh and make a real argument that they could have a good year. And that's what makes picking a division so hard, because the only thing harder than predicting a bad team to be good is predicting which bad teams or predicting the harder, we're going to cut this. The only thing harder than predicting which bad team will be good is predicting which good team will be bad. And both are very hard in their own ways. So let's get right into it, all right? I'm going to start with Rick in the AFC West. Let's see what Rick says about the AFC West. He goes, number 1, Chiefs. Until someone beats them, Reed and Mahomes will run this division. Number 2, Broncos love Sean Payton and Russ together after the last year's disaster of a season. Expecting Denver at number 2, and then the Chargers at number 3, and the Raiders at number 4. I have the exact same on mine. I got to go with the AFC West. I got the Kansas City Chiefs. I got them going 12-4. Look, they've won the AFC West the last 7 years in a row at some point. You just pick them to win it. And, if you're a Broncos fan, you hope you're pleasantly surprised by being wrong. This is an area I wouldn't mind being wrong. Number 2, I got the Denver Broncos. I got the Denver Broncos going 10-7. Sean Payton, the new offensive line. Russ has lost 15 pounds. Jerry Jeudy got hurt today, carted off the field, but man, they're saying that, he's going to miss some time. Look, hamstrings are really tough. I listened for about 40 minutes to people that were on the field when it happened. Everybody thought that it was something worse, like a complete tear. But he did try to get up and walk off the field on his own, and he couldn't. And then he needed 2 trainers to fully pick him up to get him off the field. And I was thinking, because their whole point was, then they bring out the cart. Normally if it's a tweak, it's just something weird happens and you kind of walk off, on the sideline and you're like, oh, I'm done. I tweaked it. But Jeudy seemed to be a little more severe pain-wise than an MRI suggests. So part of this could just be, this is part of the protocol. If you get hurt, you should be carted off no matter what until we do x-rays. Maybe there's a rule, like if you feel like you need x-rays or an MRI, don't walk off the field because you could make it worse or something like that. So, man, is that a spider? Oh man, I hope there's not a spider on me somewhere. So, Jerry Jeudy, obviously TBD, but if he comes back, that's going to be a good little duo with Courtland Sutton right there. Then we got the Chargers at number 3. This isn't me predicting that the Chargers are going to be bad. Matter of fact, I have the Chargers being around 9-8, 10-7, right there with the Denver Broncos and the Raiders. I have them at 6-11. I don't think that they're going to be great, but I am looking at what's going on over there at quarterback. Quarterback is looking really interesting because Aiden O'Connell's looking really good so far in preseason. 26 for 36, 304 yards, 3 touchdowns, 0 interceptions in 2 games. For reference, if Trey Lance did this, he would be the starter week 1. I mean, it's like you don't want to let preseason get to you, but when you watch the film, it looks like he's ready for the next level. He looks like a knock out of the park. And remember, this is Josh McDaniels' guy. This is who Josh wanted, man. I mean, look, if anybody knows, it's him working with Tom Brady. If your guy's in the 6th round, he's in the 6th round. We saw this with Dallas's draft pick. People were like, "Oh, why did they get him?" And I think it was Mozzie Smith. I believe it. Yeah. Mozzie Smith. But it was their guy all along. You know what I mean? It doesn't matter like what the experts think. It's like, that's cool. We don't care. We're experts. We don't work for the media. We do this for a living. And we say Mozzie Smith's the best pass rusher in the league and the best run stopper. And I kind of love that when a team just gets their guy. And it kind of seems like Josh McDaniel and Aiden O'Connell Josh McDaniels might have had more of a belief in Aiden O'Connell than has been leaked through the media. So that's the AFC West. Let's go AFC South. The Chargers, number 1. I mean the AFC South. The Jaguars, number 1. And Rick has a little note here. No reason to bet against T-Law and Peterson in a division with 2 rookie quarterbacks. Bill, he goes, I look like Favre, but I throw like Favre is a shirt. Oh my God, that's hilarious. That is hilarious. So, yeah, I'm going to tell you right off the bat, me and Rick agree on this one. I got the Jaguars number 1. Number 2, Rick's got the Titans. Will Levis and his mayonnaise deal may make them a fun team to watch, but I can't see them playoff team this year. Okay. Then he's got the Texans, and then he's got the Colts in at number 4. I'll tell you right away, we don't agree on any of those 3. So just from somebody that watched CJ Stroud in the preseason, and also with a rookie head coach that's not gonna maybe, I don't know. I don't know if he knows that his backup quarterback, who I was just talking about him the other day, he was having a better game than CJ Stroud. Oh my gosh, it's gonna bother me. It'll come to me. If there's a better move that doesn't involve CJ Stroud starting, I don't know if DeMeco Ryans is going to be able to make that call. And to me, that's a little concerning. But I do think DeMeco Ryans is a good head coach. But look, let's be perfectly clear. This is the 2nd worst defense in the league last year and the 3rd worst offense in the league last year. This is a rebuild, and this is going to take some time. And this is the other team I was talking about when I was saying rebuild. Rebuild takes time. You can like CJ Stroud. You can like DeMeco Ryans. It doesn't mean that the Texans are going to, go and get 8 wins this season. I don't see it. I got them finishing in last. And I put 4-13 for them. Then I got Indianapolis with an 8-9 record. And this might be surprising, but there's a video of Kurt Warner breaking down Anthony Richardson's film. And Anthony Richardson looks a lot more pro-ready than I believe he was led on to be. I thought he was a full-on experiment. He looked really good in the preseason. I saw an amazing throw in the end zone that was dropped. I believe that Anthony Richardson is going to be a surprise in the league, and the Colts win 8 games. 1 second. So Jinja should enjoy that one. All right. And tied, my first tie so far, Tennessee and Indianapolis. I have them both 8-9. Mike Vrabel is a very good coach. I don't want to bet against Mike Vrabel. I want to see if Derrick Henry loses a step a little bit. I don't expect him to be, trash by any means. I still expect him to be top 5. But does he move down to like top 8 this season? That's something I'm looking for. And then DeAndre Hopkins edition, like, yes. But is Ryan Tannehill going to be able to maximize that weapon? I just have some questions here. And then the Jaguars here at number 1. And I guess I'll say it since I'm here now. The Jaguars with the highest win total in the AFC. I have them at 13-4. Big year for T-Law. All right, let's go back to Rick. So far, we agreed on one division. We agree on number 1 in the AFC South being the Jaguars, and everything else is kind of a toss-up. The NFC East. Ooh. Eagles. Jalen Hurts. This is Rick. Jalen Hurts is turning into a Hall of Famer, but this defense might be shaky after a horrible Super Bowl performance and losing key guys. Then he's got the Giants in at number 2, Cowboys at 3, and then he said, can really go either way with Giants Cowboys at 2 or 3, but I like Dabble a lot better. And then Commanders in at number 4. I wasn't looking forward to this. Okay. Got something here on the Giants. Obviously, Dabble worked with the Giants or the Bills before the Giants. But the Giants passed on Josh Allen and drafted Daniel Jones. Okay. Now, would Dabble have gone with Daniel Jones over Josh Allen had they both been available? I don't know. I haven't found that interview. But what I do know is it's possible that Daniel Jones would have been Daboll's guy all along. We don't know. He wasn't available when the Bills were on the clock. So they went with Josh Allen. And he turned Josh Allen's season around. I don't even know if he was with the Bills when they made that draft pick. Okay? What I do know is that he was a very important role into the development of Josh Allen. And for Daniel Jones, well, let's just look at the numbers. He had a QBR of 87.7, 3,027 yards, 24 touchdowns, and 12 interceptions as a rookie in a season where the Giants went 6-10. In his first year or his second year, however you look at it, he had 16 interceptions. In 2021, he had 10 interceptions. In his first 3 seasons, he had 49 turnovers, which is a god-awful amount, okay? Now, they don't pick up his option. He's on a prove-it year, and in comes Dabble. He had the lowest interception percentage last season than any qualified quarterback with at least 100 attempts with 1.1 interception percent. He led his team to 9-7-1. He had a playoff win. This is a interesting year for the Giants, okay? They had Darius Slayton with 724 yards last year. Then they got Richie James, 567 yards. On any other team, he would be at best maybe a third option. Isaiah Hodgins, he became wide receiver number 1 by the end of the season. And this should speak volumes to their receiver situation, is that he was claimed off waivers. Somebody off waivers became Daniel Jones's number 1 receiver. To me, I'm looking at that like, wait a minute. is like Daniel Jones, does he need real weapons? If he could do this with waivers, guys, what could he do with, I don't know, like some of these other guys like Jalen Hyatt? We'll get there. So they bring in Paris Campbell, productive when he does play, but often hurt. Sterling Shepard, he missed 15 games last season. He's going to be back. Isaiah Hodgins will make strides with Daniel Jones because they're going to have another year together. Jalen Hyatt ran 24 miles per hour. I don't know why that's in my notes, but it's kind of cool. This is a true receiving group for the first time. In the number one addition, in my opinion, Darren Waller. Darren Waller is going to be massive for the Giants. He can play tight end lined up as the boundary X. And if you ask people around the league, this is a very important position. This is the single receiver to the short side of the field. This is what Darren Waller does. You know who else does this a lot? The Kansas City Chiefs with Travis Kelce. Because when you have a tight end that can play in that boundary X position, you can do more stuff pre-snap. You can identify more things in the defense, which means more information pre-snap coming to Daniel Jones, more information for Daniel Jones. That's a good thing, along with better protection. So they got pressure and, so I'm talking, I got to think of what do I mean by my notes here. So I put defensively, they want to put pressure on you and play man. And they got the best man coverage corner in the draft. And I guess there's film of what's his name, JSN, being totally shut down. They got Dexter Lawrence, Ashawn Robinson, McKinney. I think I'm saying these dudes' names right. But when I look at the Giants' overall team, it looks like they got better defensively. It looks like they got real weapons on the offense. They are healthy. There's still a little question mark at the receiver position, right? Like, we still need to see these guys go out there and play, but did they answer all the questions on the whiteboard? Yes. Does Dabble have this team with an identity? Yeah. Are they going to pull back in any way? I can't. This is why it's so hard to predict. Let's see what Rick said just one more time. Rick said he's got the Giants finishing number 2 in the division. I have the NFC East going like this. Philadelphia 13-4. Dallas at 11 and I believe I put 11-6. Okay. And then I got the Giants at 9-8 and the Commanders at 8-9. I don't feel like I'm like picking on the Giants in any way. I'm just looking at Dallas and I'm thinking Dallas is going to be a good football team this year, just like Philly. And if you know how high I am on Philly, you know that when I say that the margin between Dallas and Philly is not as wide as some might think, that should say how I feel about Dallas, okay? Their weaknesses going into this offseason was wide receiver. How did they address it? By bringing in Brandon Cooks. They have Michael Gallup. They're lost Kellen Moore, right? Some people think that's argued that it's a good thing. They say Kellen Moore was a little inconsistent with his play calling, and ultimately that's what cost him the game against the 49ers. Zeke is gone. Pollard set to have the best season. Most people agree Pollard should have his best season this year. Can the O-line stay healthy all season is a big question. This is probably one of the most, if not the most important part. Dan Quinn staying instead of becoming a head coach somewhere else. Anytime you have a coach and a system and the players all stay the same, that team normally gets better. Okay. Now I understand Dallas did really good defensively, so coming back a couple spots isn't, crazy to think. But I don't think they do. Now, here is some of my notes here too. Dan Quinn played the most cover 1 last year than anybody, like in his tenure in Dallas. He's played the most cover 1, which is a single safety man-on-man defense. But Diggs was the only corner that was really good. They were kind of vulnerable on the other side at corner. Now they bring in Stephon Gilmore, who was a captain on his team last. No. I'm thinking of Patrick Peterson, mixing teams, but still, Stephon Gilmore, I believe he's still got football left in him to play opposite of Diggs. Weakest position by far last season was the number 2 cornerback. Now that is been addressed. Many can go ahead and play in that slot position defensively. Malik Hooker, Javon Curse, and Donovan Wilson are in a battle right now for the safety position. Their front 7 is going to be dominant with the draft of Demarion Overshawn out of Texas with the 90th overall pick. Parsons is moving to play on the ball. He used to play in the linebacker position. So now instead of being a stacked linebacker, you're going to see him playing on the ball. I'm excited to see what that looks like. Sam Wilson was a really good rookie last year. Now he's going into year 2 on the D line next to Armstrong. Dallas is going to have a good defense. They are. Their offense may be better with Tony Pollard getting all the snaps, honestly. And then, of course, CeeDee Lamb with Gallup and now with Brandon Cooks. Like, is Brandon Cooks that great? No. When I saw the trade was like, oh my God, the Cowboys got Brandon Cooks. Like, no. Do I think they should have got like Hopkins or, Beckham? Yeah, I do. But a lot of people are saying Brandon Cooks still has ball left. Somehow he's only 29 years old. He's not even 30 yet. My biggest question about Brandon Cooks is like, how many Hall of Fame coaches have had you, right? Pete Carroll, Bill Belichick, Sean Payton. Why is no one keeping you? Like, eventually, you wonder stuff like that. So I don't know if that's going to be an issue or not, but I don't think that their offense will be worse than it was last season. I think their defense might be a little bit better. And for that reason, I have Dallas finishing second with an 11-6 record. I have the Giants staying competitive, winning tough games. They have a very hard schedule as far as traveling around the country. I think they have the most flight hours of any team. So I do think that's going to be some wear and tear, but I'm looking at the Giants to be in the 9-10 win area. I think a 10-win season in a very difficult division would be a successful year. I do think if the Giants can win 10 games this offseason, the Daniel Jones stuff will fully stop. Okay. And I think that could be a relief for everybody that's a fan of the team that likes Daniel Jones. And then the Commanders, surprisingly, I have them winning 8 games. So I don't know if you're that high in the Commanders, but like I said, I went through the Commanders in the beginning. I think that they have a very, very talented roster, and now they're going to be able to move on from that ownership disaster. I think the Commanders are going to have a decent year, may even be in the wild card, projections when we're around week 13, something like that. So that's my NFC East. Bill in the chat, a Giants fan, by the way. Anytime you get a coach to stay in a system, first time Giants have had that in the last 4 years. Just saying. And then he said, Micah wants to be a Giant. So many players want to be a Giant. Even Gronk said the only one that could bring him out of retirement. I don't think Gronk's coming. That would be hilarious, though. Maybe he feels like he needs to win a Super Bowl with the Giants because he lost to them twice. I don't know. So, and then Bill says, Dable. Come on, man. It's Dabble. It's always going to be Dabble. Maybe one day I'll do it on accident. I'll go Dable. And please correct me. Tell me when I do it Dable. Tell me it's Dabble. I just like dabble. It's like I like to dabble in things. I don't know. AFC East, one of the most fascinating divisions right now because a Hall of Fame quarterback just went to a team that almost made the playoffs with Zach Wilson. Um, the Hard Knocks episodes have been fantastic. HBO's done a great job with those. Aaron Rodgers and the defense are a match made in heaven. The Bills will be dethroned. That's what Rick says. Then he's got the Bills in at number 2. Love Josh Allen in this defense, but I think the window's closing for Buffalo. I understand. Number 3, Dolphins. Number 4, Patriots. Now, is the window closing for Buffalo? Well, Joe Burrow said the window will be his whole career. If Josh Allen is that same tier of quarterback, then essentially the window will never close on a top 3 quarterback in the league. However, I would like to remind you of Brett Favre. Brett Favre's a great example. Brett Favre, a great quarterback. People said he was one of the top quarterbacks in the league. There was no mistake about it. And Brett Favre's got them some 3-5 win seasons sprinkled in there and only one Super Bowl. So, it's really hard to win a Super Bowl. You just because somebody does it doesn't necessarily mean that they're not as elite as we thought or anything like that. You could make an argument that elite quarterbacks don't turn in losing seasons, but look, when I look at it, I got to say, man, I got the Jets winning the division. I don't think the Jets are going to be this amazing team. It's not like that, I'm saying. I think more people are higher than Buffalo. I am a little skeptical about Buffalo this year. Personally, I have my own reservations. And then Bill, what's the Bills' weaknesses? I don't get it. So here is some of the stuff that I wrote down. Okay. Vaughn is not going to be healthy to start the season. He is very important to the Bills. I think they had like 17 pressures or knockdowns week 1 against the Rams last year, the season opening games. Stephon Diggs, I don't know what's going on with him. I don't know if he's going to be 100%. I don't know what his relationship issues with Josh Allen, how they manifest on the field. I have real questions about that. Dorsey Smith, gone. That's a coordinator. That's not nothing. I'm worried about the last time we saw Buffalo. They were having a complete meltdown in the playoffs, and Josh Allen broke up with his girlfriend. And I know that this sounds like something funny or silly, and he's got a new girlfriend, and everything's gonna be fine. But in any facet, if you have a major life event, right, and something changes, naturally it's going to affect you. Like, he is a human being. This is the same thing I said about Tom Brady last season. I think the only people that can agree maybe haven't been in a serious relationship or never been through a divorce. There's no way you can stay in peak performance shape when you're emotionally all over the place. I'm not saying I know whether he is or not, but I do know that he broke up with his longtime girlfriend. And I expect this year to just be a year where Buffalo is out of sync a little bit. It's like they have their moments where it's like it's still there. And then they're going to have moments where you're like, what's going on with Buffalo? Just the way we felt against the Bengals in the playoffs. So for that reason, I have the Bills actually coming in third in the AFC East, and I have the Dolphins being the team that is going to be in second place. And that is because I think the Dolphins and the Bengals are the only 2 teams in the AFC that can finish the year top 5 offense with a top 5 defense. They've been in win now mentality ever since that trade for Bradley Chubb last offseason. Then they bring in arguably the best cornerback in the league in Jalen Ramsey. I know he had the injury, but he'll be back in October, right when they're starting to ramp up for the playoffs. Vic Fangio, last time we saw him coaching, he was a head coach. He's the best defensive mind in the game right now. The amount of value that brings is more than any player that was acquired. Um, when Tyreek and Jalen Waddle and Tua were all healthy, the Dolphins had an offense that was, I think, top 3. It was amazing what they did week in and week out. Can Tua stay healthy? That's the biggest question. Well, I can't I'm not going to predict Tua getting hurt. That's kind of stupid. If anything, he got hurt so much last season. Maybe he's more or less likely to get injured this season. And I know he's been practicing falling, which is a real thing in football, falling well, right? So he's working on some of that stuff a little bit. If this, Mike McDaniel going into another year, he just had this really good year, bringing his team almost into a playoff win against Buffalo with Skylar Thompson. I mean, Mike McDaniel's definitely the real deal. And now they just added another head coach as defensive coordinator. Like, I have to go see Miami play week 3 against Denver. I don't expect the Broncos to win that game. I'll put it that way. So Miami's going to be good. Miami is going to be a good football team. I'm surprised more people don't see it. So the only difference here with Rick is that Rick has the Dolphins being 3rd in the AFC East. And this is the only division where I have the number 1 and the number 2 team in the AFC East actually at a tie. I have the Jets and the Dolphins both finishing 12-5, and it'll be whoever, wins the head-to-head match, who gets priority. So that's going to be a really fun division to get into. I'm super excited about it for New England. They added the Bill O'Brien, new offensive coordinator. No more phone calls in the locker room with Mac Jones trying to get Alabama's offensive coordinator to help out during halftime. Whatever the case is, the Patriots still feel like they're trapped in an older time where football was played with defense and running game. Will they be able to be? I mean, look, it's so easy to talk about the Jets and the Dolphins and the Bills and be like, we don't have any more energy to talk about the Patriots, because those 3 teams are so exciting right now. But the Patriots, do they have the best coach in the world? Some people say no. Tom Brady was the one that did it all. I'm not going to get into that. Obviously, Bill Belichick is one of the greatest coaches of all time. The Patriots are going to be a tough team week in and week out. We're talking about 8-9. Maybe they don't have a winning season. Maybe 8-9 or 9-8. But when I look at this division, I don't know if I have any other team that the worst team in there is 8-9. Oh yeah, the Browns. I have them in last place, and I believe I have them at like 8 wins, 7 wins, something like that. But this is going to be a really good division. There's not an easy game if you're playing any of those 4 teams. All right. NFC West. All my NFC West people out there. I want to Brock and roll and Purdy all day. Everybody, I'm a Brock Purdy guy. I like Brock Purdy. I like the story. I like the underdog mentality. How do I think that the 49ers will do? Quarterback, is Brock Purdy going to be fully healthy? Are they going to go with Sam Darnold? I'm really starting to believe that anybody can play quarterback at San Francisco for the 49ers. Kyle Shanahan is the real deal, man. So I want to see my boy Brock Purdy out there, but I do have the San Francisco 49ers winning this division with 12-5 record. And then I got Seattle at 10-7. A lot of people said the Geno stuff was a fluke. I'm expecting the Geno stuff to get a little bit better. You added JSN. He should miss a couple of weeks with a wrist surgery. But you still got other weapons there with Metcalf, and you got a running game. You added the best cornerback in the draft with Devin Witherspoon. Kenneth Walker. This team has done everything right since they parted with Russell Wilson. There's no reason to think that Seattle will somehow be a worse team than they were last year. Um, I think they're going to be a really good team. I don't see them. I see them maybe winning a wild card game and then losing in the divisional round, but still, like for a lot of us, we would love a year like that. So I think Seattle's going to be all right. And then I got the Rams winning one more game than last season. I should probably bring that up a little bit because from what I'm hearing, Matthew Stafford is having an amazing, amazing camp. Um, so if we're going to see some prime Matthew Stafford in a year where people are ranking Justin Fields higher in the NFC over Stafford, we might be in for a rude awakening about who Stafford is and who Sean McVay is. So I'm saying 7 right now. I would not be surprised if it's around 9. But when you're doing this, it's like someone's got to lose, damn it. Like who's it going to be? We can't have every team with 7 wins. And then I got Arizona 5-12. 5-12 for Arizona. So here we go. This is what Rick said. Number 1, 49ers. Defense will be dominant and Purdy, Darnold, quarterback room should keep the 49ers fans confident. Seahawks. Number 2, Geno needs to replicate last season and they get it in the wild card again. This is weird. I did not read this. I printed it, but I never read it. This is so funny. And then he's got Rams Cardinals. We finished the same. Maybe the NFC West isn't that out there. Let's do one that is way out there. Let's talk about the NFC South, where every team is supposed to suck, but I don't think so. I think there's a couple teams in here that are not going to suck at all. And NFC South, Rick has the Saints winning the number 1 spot. He said Carr makes a difference on this team, plus the rest of the division is pretty lousy. Number 2, Falcons, Desmond Ridder and Bijan Robinson will make this season fun for Falcon fans, but don't expect playoffs. Number 3, Bucks, love Baker and Evans, and that's about it. Number 4, need them to suck so the Bears have a good first rounder next year. I love it because the Panthers traded the next year's first rounder for Bryce Young. So that's cool. At least he's being honest about it. Let's see what I got. I got the Atlanta Falcons winning the division. I said it. I gave you like 20 reasons in the beginning of this video on why Atlanta is better than people think. The additions, Arthur Smith, the 3 running back formation that they can run with, Kyle Pitts, Drake London. I mean, obviously Riddler is the biggest question mark on this team. But I think with Arthur Smith's, philosophy of running the football, I think he's going to have a lot of easy, wide open targets. I'm expecting Atlanta to be a very tough, physical football team. They have the best offensive line in the NFL. Yep, I was just making sure. I thought it was number 1 or number 3. Number 1 in the NFL. I got New Orleans coming in second because Derek Carr is still Derek Carr, man. Have you seen pictures of him? He's looking jacked. I don't know if that's going to help him on the football field. Maybe he needs to get unjacked to get better, but like he's doing him. He's going through a breakup right now. When you go through a breakup, you got to reinvent yourself a little bit. Derek Carr decided to get ripped on HGH and take the league by storm. Is it going to happen? I don't know. I'm going to be a little conservative and say that New Orleans 7-10, 8-9 area. I got Tampa Bay in second place, going 6-11 with Baker Mayfield, ultimately drafting his replacement next year. By the way, I hope I'm so wrong about that. And then Carolina, I have in last as well, going 5-12. I think Bryce Young is, I think the size thing, obviously, I'm not going to say, I don't think it's as important as people think because that's all we heard about. So obviously it's important, but I think until you watch him play, I I don't know. I'm not a believer. I need to see him wow me. I mean, I was watching the Hard Knocks practice, and he literally looks like he's gonna die out there, man. Like, it's not even funny. I'm not even doing this as like a joke. Like, I hope he balls out. The NFL is better when players are good, but I don't know. I mean, the Jets have a really good D line, so it's probably not a good judge of ability. But I mean, I'm definitely expecting a little bit of a rough patch. 5-12. Bears end up with like a 7 or a 6 overall pick next year. Good trade. Looking back on it. All right. So, what do we got left here? We got the NFC South. We did the NFC East. Ooh, my second favorite division, probably. I say that about every division. The NFC North, a division I'm really excited about. The Lions are supposed to be awesome. Aiden Hutchinson, when he got drafted, they were like, "Did you want to go to a good team?" And he's like, "No, I want to turn this franchise around." And then he wins Rookie of the Year, and the Lions go on that crazy stretch at the end of the season, 7-1. Are they going to play under pressure the same way they played when they were 1-6? That's my question. How will the Lions respond to having expectations for the first time? The Lions had a good draft. I mean, look, I was with somebody for an entire week that's a Lions fan, and he confirmed that every player they drafted is going to be in the Hall of Fame. That's how they act. You know how fans are. But still, he made some really good points. I am expecting the Lions to be good. The order Rick has is Lions number 1. He says Dan Campbell, Amon-Ra St. Brown, and Aiden Hutchinson. Enough said. Not really, but I get what you mean, Rick. Number 2, Bears. Fields has a number 1 wide receiver in DJ Moore, but the defense might be the weak spot. They still have a good chance at the wild card spot. I'm going to say that that's true, but that's because the NFC is very weak. And then the Vikings at number 3 and the Packers at 4. And it printed off. It totally didn't print off the entire thing. So all I see is Packers because fuck. Right there, all the way in the bottom. You know what? The Packers in 4th place because fuck. Yeah, that's not my order. It's not entirely different. It's just I got Detroit going 10-7. I have Minnesota going 9-8. Now I understand people are like, "Oh, they won 12 games with a negative point differential. There's no way they're going to be able to, the ball's not going to bounce their way that many times." It doesn't have to. Why can't they just be a better team? Why can't they just fix the league's worst defense in the passing game or 31st in the passing game? They don't have to be the same Vikings. All they got to do is bring in like a really good coach. Brian Flores, great. Okay, so you brought in Brian Flores. So is the defense going to be better? Yes. Are they limited by talent? Yes, they are. Do I expect them to be 31st? No. I don't expect them to be top 10 either. They are going to be probably around like 22, 23, which makes a big difference. And also, the addition at wide receiver, Jordan Addison, that's gonna you got to respect Jordan Addison. But then on the other side, there's JJ getting ready. Are you going to double cover him? These wide receivers are coming into the NFL with 1,000-yard receiving years immediately. Garrett Wilson and Chris Olave were both playing at Ohio State 2 years ago. It was like the first time a pair of receivers from the same team had 1,000 yards receiving in their first NFL season. This is crazy how polished these guys are coming out. To think Minnesota, I mean, we talked about, okay, Aaron Rodgers leaving Green Bay. We've talked about what that means to the Bears because the Bears have been a bottom feeder for so many years, right? We've talked about what that means to the Bears. We talked about the Lions stepping up, getting a team together at the perfect time because now Rodgers is gone. We haven't said anything really about the Vikings. I think don't forget that this team has the potential to, I'm not saying they're going to win 12 games, but if they win 10 or 11 games, that might be good enough to win the division, right? I have Detroit going 10-7. I don't think they're going to go anything ridiculous. I think that they're going to have human moments, just like last season. They towards the end of the season, they lost a game. It was ugly. They were the game that they lost their their winning streak, right? They won like 6 games in a row. Look at the game they lost. It was an opponent, I think it was like Tennessee, and Tennessee wasn't playing good. It was somebody like that. Well, they got their asses kicked. There's going to be a couple of those games sprinkled in. And then, of course, they're going to probably lose week 1 to the Chiefs and some of these other games. But it's possible that the best team in the North could be the Lions and could be at a 10-7. So that's where I have them. Detroit 10-7, Minnesota 9-8, Green Bay 8-9, Chicago 7-10. And before Chicago fans are like sending death threats and stuff like that, let me be perfectly clear that going from 2 to 7 wins is not nothing. It is possible that they can go from 2 wins to 7 wins. Justin Fields can develop as a pocket quarterback, but their defense is still just atrocious, like Rick said, okay? And he wrote about I told him, I said, write a little bit extra about the Bears because he's a Bears fan. And this is what he said about the Bears. The Bears are going to suck so bad because the Packers are a superior team. No, he said, my outlook on the Bears, Justin Fields has gotten some serious early MVP considerations for this upcoming year. That's a little ridiculous for a guy that had like 1,200 yards passing. Sorry. With the addition of DJ Moore, I believe it's warranted. There's no way he runs as much as he did last year, but that doesn't mean he won't put up 500, 750 rushing yards and a few rushing touchdowns if he has to. His wide receivers are Moore, Mooney, Claypool, and Kmet. And at tight end, if you're a Bears fan, then you know that this is the best group we've had in a long time. David Montgomery's loss will be felt, but Khalil Herbert fits more into the RB model of today's NFL anyway, so it won't be as huge of a loss. The offensive line still seems to be a work in progress with the recent injury to Trevin Jenkins, but the addition of Darnell Wright in the draft and the assumed improvement of Braxton Jones this year, this line will get the job done. The offense is finally looking like an offense of today's NFL. Jalen Johnson and Kyler Gordon and cornerbacks at cornerback with Tyreek Stevenson coming in from the draft should strike fear into opposing receivers. Jackson loves the interception, and Brisker is a harder hitter and led the Bears in sacks last year. QBs hate throwing to Jalen Johnson, and as long as he stays healthy this year, should be a good one for him. Kyler Gordon has been hitting hard in preseason and may take the nickelback role more often than not, but we have to remember this is only his second year in the league. Tyreek Stevenson has shown how skilled he is in the preseason and is listed as a third in cornerback on the depth chart. Maybe I'm starting to believe the Bears have a dominant defense. I wouldn't go that far. The team overall is much better than when Fields was a rookie, and I believe this team can contend for a wild card spot. Fields is going to throw over 3,000 yards and 25 touchdowns, and DJ Moore will be a big reason why, and he'll be a favorite for MVP. Holy cow. Calm down, brother. Look, I'm not saying that that's not all true, but I'm also saying Cooper Kupp was a Triple Crown leader and they didn't even give him an MVP. Instead, they gave it to Aaron Rodgers, who just won the MVP. But I get what you're saying. DJ Moore is a great receiver. Obviously, Justin Fields' first pass to DJ Moore in the preseason was like an 80-yard touchdown. That's kind of cool. But at the same time, if you look at Aaron Rodgers and how he did, look, everybody's saying he had a down year last year. He did. All this stuff he's doing in New York, he didn't really do that with the Packers. And he did lose Devontae Adams. So I am expecting Jordan Love to kind of do what Aaron Rodgers did last year. I know that sounds crazy, but I saw Jordan Love look really good in the Eagles game. Am I expecting him to be Aaron Rodgers? Absolutely not. Just like Aaron Rodgers' advice to him when he said, be yourself. He's going to have to figure out who he is. There's going to be a lot of bumps in the road. And that's why I have the Packers at 8-9. It's not a very good season by any means, but I feel like it's very realistic. And I think this will age well. Bears 7-10, Packers 8-9, Minnesota 9-8, Detroit 10-7. It's the only division I have where it kind of stacks up like that. So that is the NFC North. We went over the AFC South. We went over the AFC West. We have to do the AFC North. The Bengals, the Ravens, Steelers, and the Browns. Well, I'll do mine first. I got Bengals going 12-5. I got the Bengals. Ultimately, I'll tell you right now, I got the Bengals and Jaguars playing in the conference championship. I don't think that this is a year Mahomes will be in the AFC championship game. I think the Bengals got a lot better defensively, and that's why I picked them to be a top 5 offense and a top 5 defense. The Ravens, I have them being 10-7. Why? Lamar Jackson hasn't played a full season in a really long time. Odell Beckham, I understand everything looks great on paper. How will it translate to real life? I think it's going to be a learning curve. We are so used to just being like, especially recently with, Tom Brady going to Tampa, winning a Super Bowl, Matthew Stafford. Sometimes we think, oh, it's just going to be a plug and play. More than not, it takes, 10 weeks before things start going. And that I feel like 10-7 is a very safe place for the Ravens. Here we go. I got a 2-way tie for second place because I got the Steelers going 10-7 as well. I think the Steelers, for all the reasons that I listed earlier about George Pickens and Johnson and the offensive line getting shored up, and Kenny Pickett going 6-2 in his last 8 weeks, and the running back, the two-headed monster they have now. I think that the Steelers are going to have a good year, and I have the Browns at 9-8. And this is the team with the highest win-loss total that I have losing a division. It is the Browns. So let's see what Rick went with. NFC North, AFC East. Okay, so he's got Bengals. Unless Joe Burrow's legs and arms fall off, Bengals should win this division. Too many offensive weapons. Number 2, Ravens. Number 3, Browns. Number 4, Steelers. Sad face, but Pickett might top dog soon if he sad face, but Pickett might top dog soon if he continues to improve under Tomlin. Oh, he might be a top dog soon if he continues to improve. Yeah, absolutely. He needs to improve, but he's already doing it. We've already seen a lot of the right things out of him just in his first year. So let's see if I got any more notes that I wanted to go through right here. I talked about the Commanders in his preseason performance. He only played 1 game last season, week 17 and 1. He was injured during a lot of the season. Another quarterback that was injured during the season and got his first start week 17 and got the job the next season, Patrick Mahomes. Both of them started. Patrick Mahomes' first start was week 17 against the Broncos. Sam Howell, he got his first start week 17 as well. Who was the offensive coordinator for Patrick Mahomes? Eric Bieniemy. Who's the offensive coordinator now for Sam Howell? Eric Bieniemy. Look at that. Sam Howell's basically Patrick Mahomes. No. Sam Howell, though, does have an opportunity to surprise a lot of people. He's looking really good in preseason. Just YouTube Sam Howell preseason highlights. Look for yourself. Chase Young, he's dealt with a lot of injuries. It's time for him to, be healthy. I know that it's like, just be healthy. It's like, I can't, but in all reality, like the Commanders defense really needs Chase Young. So, he needs to be out there. He's too good of a player. So I'm hoping he has actually a bounce back year. We talked about the Giants. We talked about the Cowboys. We talked about Dan Quinn playing the most cover 1, single safety, and man on man. And now they have a really good cover corner in Stephon Gilmore. If you believe Stephon Gilmore still has something left in the tank, that could be a debate as well. We talked about the Falcons being my surprise team. We talked about the Falcons knowing who they are, having an identity, being a strong running football team. We talked about them running a lot of pistol with one wide receiver, two tight ends, three running backs, getting Cordell Patterson, Bijan Robinson, and Tyler Algier all on the field at the same time. This, you know why I love this so much? Is because 2 weeks ago, when Dalvin Cook was available, and I said, you know what I would love is a team to just have like a number one running back and get a number one running back just as a social experiment. Like, what would happen if you group Jonathan Taylor and Dalvin Cook on a team? Well, the Atlanta Falcons are the closest thing to that little Madden experiment, and they're doing it in real life. And I expect them to run for like 200 yards a game. This is going to be an insane football team to watch. Games will probably go by quick. The 49ers, Seahawks, Rams, and Cardinals. We talked about all of those teams. We talked about the Giants. Unfortunately, I don't have them winning the division, Bill. I hope you're not mad at me or anything like that. Yo, I'm Rick in the chat. No one asked you what you thought about the defense. Dude, Tua good to see you in here, buddy. Tua has been doing jiu-jitsu to learn how to fall. That's what I was talking about earlier when I was saying learning how to fall. Jiu-jitsu. I love that. You got to stay aerodynamic out there. Tua's got to stay healthy. You guys got to stay here on Only Football by subscribing to this channel. We've had a lot of new people in here today. I've seen the eyeball count on the top of the page. If you came in here, I sincerely thank you guys for coming in as we get ready to turn the corner going into real life football. I'm super stoked about it. We're going to have Rick back in the studio early season, and I'm excited to, get my friend back. And then we're going to be going live just like always, Mondays, Wednesdays, and I'll be going live on Thursdays for the little bonus episode. And yeah, that's what today was all about, man. Today was about going down the list, going through our division predictions. I would say overall, me and Rick agreed on a good amount of things. I would say there's like 3 divisions where we kind of, no, I got this, I got that. We agreed on the AFC West. We agreed on the AFC South. We did not agree on the Saints winning the NFC South. I got the Falcons. And we did agree. No, and we didn't agree on the NFC East. I have the Cowboys coming in second. And Rick has basically a toss-up between the Cowboys or the Giants for that second place. So that'll be a really fun division to watch. I'm probably mostly excited about the NFC North. I'm really excited about the Jordan Love experiment and then all the weapons Fields has. It's kind of, in a way, there's that pressure there because now Rodgers is gone. It's like, hey, man, there's no more fucking around. Aaron Rodgers is gone. We need you to, take that spot. And the thing is he's got to do it quick, because if he doesn't, Jared Goff will. And if Jared Goff doesn't, Kirk Cousins will. And this is going to be a fun one to watch. So if you want to tune into all that stuff and get live updates during the NFL season and be reminded when we go live, you can follow me at Twitter at FTBLONLYPODCAST. And you can follow my partner in crime, my everything, the love of my life, even though he sends me letters like this in the mail, at And Now Rick, ANDNOWRICK. And you can check out all of our other channels by clicking on playlists and going down to see the different channels that we have. Thank you guys for tuning in. I know it was kind of lengthy. We're at an hour and 24 minutes, but man, I swear, I think last year our division predictions took like 2.5 hours. So I guess, yeah, basically, if we had one more person talking on this episode, it probably would have went that long too. It's a lot to break down. It's a heavy episode, but this video will be uploaded onto the Star 6 Media page for easy digestion if you want to come back in and take a look at some of the predictions you might have forgotten about. So thank you guys for tuning in. I will see you guys soon. I'll see you on a preseason stream this weekend. We're going to make sure that we get a dry run in before the NFL season starts. And until then, I'll see you guys next time. See ya!